Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 7 at Saratoga on Four-Star Dave Saturday, a wide open edition of the Galway Stakes, going 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. Before we take a look at this full field, check out those Timeform US past performances at DRF.com. Lots of great features. Learn more, drf.com/TFUS 101. Here's the field for the Galway. The 11 and 12 are entered, also eligible. 13 through 15 main track only. Of course, we're hoping this race stays on the turf. The number 8, Love Reigns, is your 5-2 morning line favorite. We haven't seen Love Reigns since April, when she overcame a world of trouble to win the Limestone at Keeneland.
She ran really, really well in that race to get the job done after not getting a great trip down. She's the horse to beat in here. Maybe she'll just be too tough for this field, but man, this is a pretty good race on paper. There are several fillies who can really run in this race.
Not a ton of speed, however, somewhat surprisingly. As we throw up the Timeform US pace projector, the 9 Stone Silent, if she breaks, is likely to get to the lead, as she's been in her last 2 starts on the turf. The 1 Dream Concert has a little bit of speed, Mike. I'm not sure she's as fast as the 9, however.
Yeah, I don't know if she is either. Stone Silent is really fast. It'll be interesting to even see where the favorite is, Dan. Love Reigns. You know, she's not a blazer early in her races, but last time they just didn't go with her for whatever reason and rated. She could, if she breaks well in this race, she could easily be very close to the pace in here.
And while the 4 Love Appeals is well back on your pace projector, I think she's a little bit more adaptable than the projector gives her credit for. The 6 Redefined has the LP flag, the fastest Timeform US late pace figure, and should be kicking on in the stretch. Let's start things off with the number 1, Dream Concert, who made her turf debut last time out against a couple of these in the Blue Sparkler down at Monmouth, and just didn't show the same early speed that she had on the dirt.
Didn't get out of the gate that well in that race, and then just sort of sat wide around the track and never really made any kind of serious run into that race. That I think it was really hard to tell whether she was going to, be as good on turf as she was on dirt. From that performance, Kathleen O'Connell, I guess, thinks she's going to be. She's going to run her right back at another stakes race here. So we'll see how much better she can do. It was very confounding what happened last time. They didn't really do anything with her.
Blinkers back on, and she has won with blinkers in the past. The 2 is Beauty of the Sea, the winner of the Blue Sparkler. She has won 3 consecutive races. She beat 3 of these horses in this race at Monmouth. She got a beautiful trip. She tucked in the pocket. She got to the outside. She's going to run down the leader, and then she's going to hold off My Sweet Affair, who's rallying up the rail.
Yeah, I mean, she runs well in this race, and I don't really want to knock her, Dan, but you mentioned when you introduced her that she got a great trip in this race, and I think it made the difference in here. The 2nd and 3rd finishers both ran fine, and they had a shot at this thing, but it just kind of felt like Beauty of the Sea out-tripped them and got the job done at a price. She'll probably be a price once again in here, though.
Isabella Alexandra, I think, is a pure turf sprinter. You look at her races going 5/8 or so, and that is her best distance. They've tried other things, and she's done fine, but I think this is what she wants to do, as she showed last time out when taking the measure of Stone Silent at Horseshoe Indianapolis. And Stone Silent is cruising on the lead here and looks like she's on her way to a victory, but Isabella Alexandra just runs her down.
Yeah, and she runs her down actually pretty easily at the end of this race, Dan. This Stone Silent had a big lead on her, and Isabella Alexandra is going to close her down, and her rider is going to take her in hand here as this field comes to the wire. This is a good performance. She was also really impressive when she won first time out sprinting. Since then, they've gone longer with her. I'll tell you what, in some of those stakes races in Florida over the winter, she did not run as poorly as it looks, particularly that Ginger Brew. She was in contention and got totally blocked through the stretch with nowhere to go.
Love Appeals is the number 4. She was a winner 2 starts back at Aqueduct Sprinting. We saw her finish 3rd in the Blue Sparkler, and I guess of the top 3 finishers, she might have had the most difficult trip simply because she gave up a lot of ground at the start of that race.
Yeah, she got bumped pretty hard at the start of that race and just wound up last. It was actually the winner who bumped her, too, and just sort of knocked her right out of position. And then as that field came into the stretch, Dan, the runner-up, My Sweet Affair, just dropped right in front of her at the quarter pole, so she lost more position. I mean, she ran on at the end. I still felt like she maybe had a shot to get there, and she just didn't quite make it. But I thought she had plenty of excuses last time. I liked all 3 of her races to begin her career. I think she's really dangerous in here.
Perhaps the 5 Anna Zarabesque will be up close to the pace in here, as she was in her most recent turf start 3 starts back when a pace-pressing runner-up is the beaten favorite. She's been washed off in her last 2. She has some tactical speed. She has some upside. And Mike, I think her race in her second lifetime start at a big price at Churchill was pretty good.
Yeah, I did too. Even her debut wasn't bad at Fairgrounds. I mean, just put in tight at the start and just lost all position, was way too far away in there, but actually made a run since those first 2 starts too, Dan. She's found way more speed and she could be forward in this race. I'm still not sure how good she is, but I think it's easy to look at her and say, you know what, she's better on turf and she's finally getting back to that surface now.
I'm a big fan of the number 6, Redefined, who did some very nice things winning at Belmont in her most recent start, going 3/4. There was not a ton of pace in this race. She gets to the outside, and she's still going to be able to run down a field that included 3 next out winners. She went through the auction ring after this start. She sold for $450,000 and now comes back for a reliable trainer in Michelle Lavelle.
Really liked this performance from her off a little bit of a layoff, Dan. She was good as a 2-year-old also. Ran really well in some stakes races. I feel like when you go back and look at the final 2 starts last year at Aqueduct, I thought she was going to win both of those races. Came with big runs through the stretch, got to the leader, and then just sort of got turned away at the end. It made me feel like she might have a little hang in her. She didn't show any hang last time. She smashed that field.
LJ's Emma has improved by leaps and bounds in switching surfaces and being placed on turf. She's won her last 2 starts in Kentucky, and she just seems like a professional sort that can sit in mid-pack and come with 1 run. This is the acid test, stepping way up in class.
Yeah, it's a big test for this filly. She's getting better with every start so far. I really appreciate her tactical speed as well, Dan, so she could get another good trip in this race. I think it's a pretty tough spot for her, but she's going to be a fair price, and she's pretty good.
Love Reigns. We haven't seen her since April, but the morning line favorite looked real good in winning this race, the Limestone, over a couple of next out winners. She is in behind horses here, turning into the stretch, and it just looks like things aren't going to work out. There's nowhere for her to run. Joel Rosario is searching for a seam. He dives down to the inside. Maybe the rail's going to open up. Well, maybe not. She's running out of time. It's getting late early, as Yogi used to say, and she still gets there.
Yeah, I mean, just overcame a lot of trouble. I mean, most of the trouble it felt like was sort of by Rosario's own design there. That I don't know why he took her back. She broke fine in this race, and he just took her back and over to the inside. It almost blew up in his face, but as it turns out, Love Reigns was too good, and she won that race anyway. She's the horse to beat here.
If you're looking for speed and upside for good connections, how about the 9 Stone Silent for Steve Asmussen? Now, we saw her get run down by Isabel Alexandra 2 starts back. It seemed to me that that apprentice rider was just very, very confident turning into the stretch. Maybe could have opened up a little bit on that field. Perhaps the result wouldn't have been different. They switched to a more experienced rider in her most recent start, and at 2-5, she did what a 2-5 favorite's supposed to do, and that's romp.
Yeah, she did romp in here, loose on the lead right from the start, and you can see her through the stretch. She just never gives this field a chance. He shakes her up there past the 8th pole, and it's all over here. Really nice performance. Her last 2 starts, very good. Her turf debut in the Limestone back in April, not great against a couple of these horses, but she's clearly better now.
My Sweet Affair is the number 10. We saw her finish 3rd in the Limestone, only beaten a length. She rallied belatedly that day, but for only her second lifetime start, not a bad effort at all, and she's proven herself at this level. Now, she ran second last time out in the Blue Sparkler. We saw her coming up the hedge. They altered course to the rail, turning for home. It looked like for a second the jock wanted to get out. He couldn't. She ran on at the end. The problem is that ground-saving trip doesn't seem available to her from way out here.
Yeah, she moved all the way outside for this race. Irad does take the mount back, though, Dan. I guess that could really help her chances. I remember really liking her career debut when she won first time out. She was really impressive. She's been fine since then. I don't know that I like her quite as much anymore, but I can't really knock her recent performances. She's not winning, but she's right there at the end.
The 11 and 12 were entered main track only. I guess of the 2, I prefer Reflexivity, who was purchased at auction in her after her most recent win for Chad Brown. She's now with Michael Maker. She's got a little bit of speed.
She's got a little bit of speed. She's got a lot of upside, too. She could easily take a step forward here. It won't be easy for her if she gets in from the far outside, cutting back from 7, but she was pretty good winning last time.
And the 12 Weekend Rags also has a little bit of speed and could be a pace presence if she's in here. She's 30-1 for a very underrated, excellent trainer. Before we take a look at our top selections, let's take a look at the, remember to head on over to DRF, yes, start something again there. I messed the whole thing up. Let's forget the YouTube. Let's go. I don't know where I was going.
Let's just go straight to
we
top
finish.
picks. How does
All
that
right.
sound?
Very good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Wide open race. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Galway. We're going 5.5. We're both going with horses coming out of the same race, or at least similar races. Isabel Alexandra beat Stone Silent 2 starts back. Stone Silent came back to win last time. I like the way Isabel Alexandra fires sprinting on the turf, and I think she'll be a good price.
I agree with that. That's why I took her, Dan. I mean, this is a really good race. I think you could go a lot of different directions. I wanted a price, not that I'm way against Love Reigns, but I wanted a price. I really like this filly. I think she is better sprinting. That win last time was a really good performance. I just think she's better than she looks. This is a good spot.
I like Stone Silent's early speed. I think she's going to break sharp, get to the front, and maybe she can show this field her heels all the way. We'll see what we get from the horse to beat. The 8 Love Reigns off the layoff. You saw her visually impressive stake last time out. Better prices for us, perhaps. Mike going with the 3. I'm going with the 9. Best of luck.